Hey guys, it's Mason, and today we're going to be talking about another one of the biggest reasons that people struggle fixing their Game Boys, and that is screen lines. As you can see on this Game Boy right here, its screen is covered in these lines, and that makes it really hard to play the game because you literally can't see half of the pixels on the screen. But it's really actually quite easy to fix, and we're going to talk about that today. Okay, so we have our Game Boy here, and when we turn it on, there we go. You immediately see that we have screen lines. Now, the way that I'm getting these screen lines is I'm upping the contrast all the way. You can see underneath it that there is the Nintendo logo. This is a working system, but it's got these really bad screen lines on it. So if you turn up the contrast all the way, it makes it really easy to see if you do or do not have these screen lines. So first thing we gotta do is crack this guy open. So go ahead and watch my previous videos if you have any questions on how to do that. I'm just gonna speed through it right now. So now that we've separated the screen from the motherboard, the next step is to reinsert the ribbon cable into the motherboard so then you can have a live feed of the progression of the screen lines as you get rid of them. You'll then place the motherboard back into the back shell of the Game Boy Pocket or original DMG, whichever one you're working with. And as you can see here, it makes it so that we're able to place our batteries back in. And at this point, we should be able to power the Game Boy completely back on. So this is now the mode in which we're going to be working with this Game Boy. So the biggest problem that's happening right here is that there are contacts here. There are traces that go from one side to the other that need to be reflowed. So in order to do this, you are going to need your soldering iron. I have mine right here, and it's set to I set mine to about 350. I don't know if that's the correct temperature or actually what it's at, because I kind of have a cheaper soldering iron. But basically all that you're gonna have to do now is at this point, there's a small layer of glass right along here, and you're gonna just touch the soldering iron across the bottom there and slowly rub it, and it's gonna bring these pixels back to life. There we go, just like that. You see how these pixels are coming back on slowly as I rub it across. Now it takes a while, and sometimes you'll have to let it sit for a little bit and let the solder come back into its own a little bit. But we're gonna slowly get all these pixels back to life, just going across this just like this. And make sure not to leave it on one spot for too long. You want to apply just a little bit of pressure, not too much. So basically you're just reflowing all these traces in here, letting all that solder reflow. And you can see right there is a little bit of a burn forming, but that will go away if you give it just a little bit of time. And once the burn forms, it kind of shows, okay, it's time to let it sit for a little bit. Let these lines come back into their own. So I'm just gonna keep on doing this, and keep in mind there's no reason to go out here or out here on the screen. The traces are all along this gray area right here. Also, it's important to note that you should never place your soldering iron below that point, because it will just straight up melt those traces, and there's no hope for them after that. So keep it right on that little glass right above the traces. That's where you want it. And it's a labor of love here. It takes a little while. It's easy to get discouraged, but if you just keep at it, keep going, eventually they're gonna come back on, all those pixels. Okay, so it looks like it's ready. It looks like the pixels have all been revived. There's this little one on the edge that keeps on coming back. It keeps on turning off and on, so I will go back and fix that one right now. But You just need to give it just a little bit of time to just cool down, return back to normal. And once it returns back to normal, as long as all the pixels are there, that means that the solder has been effectively reflowed and that the display is going to be working just fine. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it in the long run. Okay, so I've let this sit now for a little bit, let it just kind of settle down. Some of the pixels were flickering on and off, and that'll happen throughout this whole process, but it looks to me like it's permanently been fixed. So that's really exciting. Another Game Boy ready to go out into the wild. I noticed it was a little dirty, a little sticky when I was working on it, so I'm gonna give it a quick clean, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the final test. Okay, so got it all put back together. It's all nice and clean. Let's see if it works. Yeah, there we go. And it even has sound. Look at that. So we got another Game Boy to put out in the wild. Looks like the contrast and volume are both working really, really well on this one. So that's really exciting. This has been repairing screen lines on a Game Boy Pocket. Same applies for a Game Boy DMG, just original console as well. This will fix any sort of screen line on your Game Boy system. And be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, just let me know in the comments section. And thanks for watching.